I would like you to imagine something with me. Look at the next picture and kind of put yourself into the situation. So imagine you're sitting there, you're hearing the water, you're feeling the cold breeze, and you're getting warm, and now you're getting up mentally and kind of go and climb into the water, swim a round or two, you get back out and you lie down on your towel, and then you're watching me talk. And it's a little bit colder, hopefully. Why am I doing this talk? I want to talk about me, first of all, and use the chance to to give you a quick overview. No, but in the past 2 years, OKRs have become a part of Tutti. And also in the past 2 years, I've had the chance to talk to various companies and company leaders at Tamedia about OKRs, and it felt like everyone was interested, but the perception of what it can offer and how you could do it and how you make it successful and what the perception is of what this tool should bring to you and why you're implementing it was wildly different. And I'm not telling you how it could be done, but I'm telling you a little story where you might be able to reflect a little bit on what you're doing and what we have been doing, and then kind of put you on a map and then decide whether you are at the right position, whether we are at the right position, and maybe what to do next, or whether this map is the right one. But let's start a little bit different. So we've seen the Letzigraben open water pool. This is my favorite ice cream in Berlin. I'm from Berlin. It's made of a flavor, I think it's Mayflower or something. Didn't know what it is. It's from this plant, and May Bowl. It was probably one of the ones that I always kicked over with a stick when I was walking through the woods as a kid. And I also enjoy rock music, and usually you find me at the very, very front part of the concert. This is a wall of death. This is when people separate to then, when the drop down comes, to really crash into each other, and I'm usually there. I also enjoy swimming. This guy over here, who almost drowning, is me. Very gracious, all in line with all the others. And I also love dogs, so no cat pictures here. Motorcycles and secondhand. And that is now bringing me to Tutti. So my love and passion for secondhand, this is, I think, from 2015. I was doing a lot on eBay Kleinanzeigen, selling, buying on a weekly basis. It's my passion. And some of that stuff also is secondhand that I'm wearing right now. So 2015, I applied at Tutti. Tutti kind of looked like this back then. It's a little bit unfair to talk about someone when they're not in the room and they cannot defend themselves. So so that's how it looks today, just for reference, how far we've come. And just to be fair, this is how I looked back then. In my interview at Tutti, which was really cool, but also demanding of me, I was talking about a concept called the North Star. And it seems to have been really, I think, inspiring also to the people that interviewed me. And we've spent quite a lot of the discussion about the concept of a North Star. And the North Star concept is basically that in an ideal world, you have one metric to basically define success for your company. You can really abstract everything and say, if you achieve that one thing, then you're on the right track. And that's the thing you should aim for. So that was the concept. And I've thought that the passion about this topic and the enthusiasm would then carry on, and the story continues. I became PM at Tutti with of a team of 3 other great PMs. So I was the 4th, or I was the first actually to join. And yeah, that's all about me. So this is to kind of put me into perspective. So what do good PMs do? They rant. They challenge the status quo. They demand things, and the things that we demanded was, the vision, it's not clear, it's not good, it's not passion, it's not like engaging for us. We need a better vision, or we need a vision, and we were not accepting the status quo. And once you kind of have the vision, then of course it doesn't stop there. A strategy here, and we need like the guidance and the plan. Okay, so we eventually, as Tutti, move forward on this. But it doesn't stop, because then, of course, in the context of the media, the Tamedia vision, we don't know what to do with Ricardo. Are they enemies? Are they friends? Homegate, I don't know. I think we're good friends now, so that's good. So it continues, and you're cleaning up all these open questions as a young, fresh PM that you as a young, fresh PM group have. And what Tutti used back then was something called a Hoshin plan. And Tutti's history is with the Schibsted universe. Schibsted is a media house like Tamedia, but coming from Norway. And what they did was use Hoshin, and it's basically giving you some guidance. You start with a vision, you have some breakthrough goals, you have some key areas, and then you have some metrics. Great. Looks good on paper. Actually, not too different from what OKRs look like. But for some reason, it didn't match up for us. So I think this is more how we actually lived it. So we had a vision. We had breakthrough goals. Number 3 for tech was, for example, make tech great again. So back then when Trump was elected. And then we had initiatives defined by management. So findability, transport and transaction, visibility features, advertising, messaging, platform updates, all these things. They sound good, they sound right, but how do they connect to the vision? So does management take the job and actually make sure that it's helping us get to the right point? Well, it turns out, okay, this is interesting. Okay. Wait. Okay, there's an empty slide, doesn't matter. Well, there were some issues with this because of management just giving these initiatives. These initiatives were mainly product focused, which left part of the company out of this initiative slot, because then with marketing these initiatives usually didn't show up on these global forums. And that didn't align the teams, like marketing, sales, customer happiness, product, tech. They were not really aligned unless one of these initiatives touched them, and not all did. Also, the targets were not aligned. Tamedia had some targets. The Hoshin plan had some key metrics. We had some bonus targets. There were some targets defined by the teams. It's all kind of everywhere. And then if you look deeper, then all these targets didn't match up. And then it was kind of, why do our bonus targets, for example, why are they not reflected in here? Why are we not putting them at the top, for example? So revenue is a really important one, or EBITDA. And it didn't show up as the North Star, for example, because, well, user first, the lie that we told us back then is we cannot put revenue there, but that kind of made it difficult then in the execution, actually. Then the teams didn't feel empowered enough. It was decided, you do this, but the teams had other ideas, and they were not reflected there, so there was some motivational disadvantage for the teams because they didn't buy into this idea of what they were supposed to do. And also they didn't really see how their day-to-day work contributed towards the bigger goal. So they were doing the edit of ads, for example, editing the ads, which was a great feature. Everyone expected it, and we built it in like half a year. And I'm being ironic because it's not a feature, it's something that people expect, of course. But building that, how did that bring us closer to the breakthrough goals that we have set? Not at all, even though for the product and for the user side, it was a big achievement at that point. So, yeah, we've moved on. Strategy, vision, okay, let's leave it at that. And then we moved on and demanded purpose, alignment, empowerment. So for the teams, because it didn't work. We had to do some improvements there. One eternity later, I became head of product. Yay. And that kind of brings us into the phase of OKRs at Tutti. And what do you do as a young leader? You try to change things. And what do you do to change things? You ask Google how to change things. And well, this was not really the starting point for me. I think it was maybe a discussion with some others or a Medium article or whatever. So it was influenced by the network more or less, but for the sake of this presentation, I dug this out. And basically Google has some opinions about OKRs, and that was the framework that I zoned into. And what one of the first results says, It is a simple tool to create alignment and engagement. Wow, already 2 things checked, right? Around measurable goals, which also sounds nice. Wasn't really a problem at that point in time, but yeah, so that was good, a good starting point. And it's used by Google, awesome. So it must be good, right? So yeah, follow in the footsteps of the giants. So what did we do next? Yeah, we introduced OKRs just for the product team. So I think that was a success because it was run accidentally more run like an experiment in a smaller scale to check whether it's nice or not and if it works before like involving everyone, because the more people you involve, the more teams you involve, the more complex it gets, the more you have to kind of align and discuss and teach and educate. And yeah. So at the same time, I also introduced platform teams. Looking back, I wouldn't do that again. Maybe that's a talk for next year. But this had some cross effects, which might also make OKRs seem better or worse at some points. But I'm not kind of dissecting this out of this. But overall, OKRs seem to work for the product teams. And we moved on. Because a success story, make it big. We moved on and applied it to the whole company. And that little bar, I'm getting to that. So we applied it to the whole company and we followed some basic rules. The framework gives some guidance and it can be really big. You can have multiple layers there. We've decided to pick 3 or basically 2. So start with the vision, then you set annual company OKRs by the management, and then you have the quarterly team OKRs. You could have more cadence or more levels in there. So annual team OKRs, you could have quarterly company OKRs, you could have individual OKRs, and there's also some personal OKRs, which sounds very similar but is different. But yes, this was our setup and we thought it's super simple. And we followed these very basic rules, but I think you can read these up somewhere. But if we send these slides around, then maybe have a look at this. Yeah. But, and I was almost getting ahead of myself to not be too late again here, we started the whole thing too late. So we decided to introduce OKRs, but it was already the beginning of 2018 and we've set up annual OKRs and we're already in the year. So that created a lot of drag because we were in this in-between state of, well, what do we do now? And some people already knew some things about the OKRs and then were supposed to guide the teams already in that direction without them being official already. And that is just sucking the energy out of the whole process. And I was the OKR shepherd at that point in time. And yeah, so there were some other issues or some learnings after this first set. They were super ambitious. So the OKRs that we have set were super high. You're trying to aim for 70%, then you're great. 100% is supposed to be very ambitious so that you think bigger. And we ranged around like the 30-40%. And that kind of gives a good indication that the expectations, even though we dialed it down before, we thought we dialed it down before, were far higher than what the teams were actually able to achieve. But that's one of the possible interpretations, because OKRs are a communication tool in essence. It could also be that teams were not working on the OKR, what was defined in the OKRs, which is okay, but it would be reflected here. But I'm not going to go into details. And we could have, we were to this, to that, and I could go on forever. And I felt like this as the OKR shepherd. I was trying to keep the process running. It was super hard, like keeping all the sheep going on the street. And then there was always someone like, oh yeah, but what is this? And like, why are we doing this too late? And questioning everything and really making the life hard, but not on purpose. But it's not a simple framework as simple as we thought it would be. Yes, I'm fine. It was all show. So overall, even though we had all these setbacks, or it felt pretty hard, I think the Q1 OKRs were a success, and we continued. But the whole framework and the setup was extremely fragile. It required me and a lot of effort of a person to keep it running, to actually invite the people in remind them to set up the next OKRs, to ask them like what are the results, sync with the teams and all that kind of stuff. So this is but on the good side, well, you see the results there. Teams started considering other teams, so that was good as an essence. They were challenging what they were working on, so it provided them transparency to actually kind of question the path that we are taking. But we kind of moved on some of these things, I guess purpose and empowerment. You could assume alignment as well, but as we later found out, it's not really, we were not that aligned. And one of the learnings in the very beginning, and I think the biggest change that we have done is optimize the way we set the KRs. We define these KRs because KRs are not supposed, or the OKRs are not supposed to be a roadmap or a to-do list of projects. But if you see, for example, these 1-0, these binary kind of achievements, that's an indicator for this being a project. And you just tick the box, and it's not really a smart goal. You don't measure it, and you're not going for impact, you're going for output here. So yeah, so that was one of the big achievements, and we tackled it. So we improved how we defined KRs next quarter. Then we've improved the form so that it can be lived better and can be shared better and used better. And then we improved the measurements because, I mean, if you're setting all these goals but you don't really look at them, or it's hard to then dig them out, it's no good. So we improved on that. Then the better understanding, we realized that after a year, also many more of the management team and the existing team back then understood what OKRs are and could contribute to it. And it's going on. And better alignment, which is coming pretty late for this being one of the key targets that we actually set out to go for. So it was pretty late. Then the next level came. Why was alignment bad? Basically, it's kind of the delicacy of weighting all these OKRs against each other. Because if you read this list of OKRs, then basically this list assumes that all of them are equal, but they're not. You could achieve 70% by just focusing on, let's say, feel-good topics like make data accessible. Well, okay, that's not a feel-good topic, but be a great place to work, then make data accessible and overcome tech legacy, and then maybe you'll do a little bit up here, but you're not earning any money, which is overall as a sum not good, cannot be a perfect 70%. You cannot feel successful if that would be the outcome. But if you say all of them are equal, you do. If you push the responsibility to the teams without guidance, teams will pick the ones down here or what they feel is very good up there. So they will focus on topics that they feel are important, that they can make a difference on, but that might not yield as many benefits for the company overall. So there's, and the teams have different understandings of what their importance is. So the iOS team, for example, was focusing very much on that. The Android team on objective 1. And some of these actually needed both teams to be working on the topic at the same time or at a very similar time. So that's kind of the misalignment that I'm talking about. Some of these topics are so big, or the initiatives that lie behind these metrics or these key results are so big that multiple teams have to work on them at the same time or at a very similar time. And that's the mismatch of the alignment. What we set out for as next was also simplification. Very much simplification, because also the whole process of syncing the teams is very hard. So you're kind of dreaming up your own key results as a team, maybe giving some initiatives to give an indication what that could mean, to make it a little bit more concrete. But then you have to talk to team A, B, C, D to then say, hey, this is what we think we can do. What do you have? And then you check. And if they do have something, what they feel they should do that requires two teams, then this has to be synced across these teams. And this is like this constant rattling of the system until everything fits. And it's quite a lot of rounds and a lot of iterations until everyone feels, hey, now we're kind of pulling into the same direction, at the same string. So we wanted to reduce that drag as well. And as a next step, what we've done is something that goes against the original framework. We basically changed the bottom layer. We went from quarterly team OKRs set by the teams to quarterly company OKRs set by the management, to basically give the guidance and say, in this quarter, we want to focus on the buyers, for example. And we want all the teams to focus on the buyers. And yes, I don't have an example yet, but it will come later. So that basically we have global key results that are the same for all the teams, so that then they know we need to all focus on the buyers in that quarter. And maybe not in the same week, but at least in the same bigger time frame. Yes, that was the next iteration. And we also became a little bit more professional and nicer and made it easier to consume. But this is one of the slides, the nicer to look at slides, how we describe the process. And every newcomer is kind of being greeted with this. M1, for example, means the top management. M2 is the middle management. And yeah. So conclusion, North Star, do we have it? No. Because this concept kind of says there should be one metric to rule them all. I'm not quite sure whether this is possible at all, or if you should really go for that. But I think with the OKRs, we have come very close, because we've already reduced the mass. And if you remember the Hoshin plan with this, all these 10, 20, 15 metrics under each of the key areas to, let's say, 15. Still a lot, but it's not that much anymore. So we kind of drilled it down. And I mean, if you look at the objectives, for example, then we have 5. That's kind of condensing it even more. But yeah. So I think we are going into the right direction. We are being transparent, and we're saying this is the stuff that we try to aim for in this time period. Would I do it again? Definitely. Do we need OKRs for this? No. I don't think so. It's nice that we have some common language here, and we have a lot of resources in the internet that you can consult, and you have also consultants that you can consult and include. But it's not the framework. I think you can pick your parts out of it. You can use Hoshin. You can just throw away everything, not use any label, and then just establish some metrics that you agree on and give some guidance. But you don't need OKRs. But I think that's a good starting point. By the way, quick story to the side. We've tried to get some OKR training with a trainer. It was canceled 3 times, and we did this all by learning by doing. So there was no official help, except for talking to other companies that have done this. HomeGate, for example, has, with Jens Bernd, someone that knows more about the stuff. Other companies are catching up as well. But I think so far we're pretty far ahead of most of the companies. And for me, the big conclusion is that it's a communication tool. It kind of surfaces what's going on, and it helps discuss or say no or yes to things. And I think that's one of the biggest challenges in our day-to-day work with all these ideas. I mean, everyone has 10 ideas about Tutti probably, how to improve them, but how to focus really on the next best thing. And this helps quite a lot. And then also helps kind of put it into the perspective of the existing vision and strategy, or at least gives it a try. And so far I have not seen and experienced anything better, but yeah, it comes with a cost. And the cost is, it's not as simple and as plug and play as Google might make you think. Remember that. And also, it needs a lot of commitment and persistence, and you have to, you have to commit to going through many, many cycles. It's not a install and then leave it kind of thing. If you're in for this, you will adapt it to your company and make it nice. The discussions of good KRs and bad KRs are hard, but they're good because you have them at the right point in time. You have them way sooner than later, and actually it helps you like avoid not Kaizen, what is waste, or it reduces waste basically on the on your path. This is what the actual company OKRs look like for us right now. I've stripped it out a little bit, so maybe we're sharing the slides, so nothing really good. And this is also the sheet that we're using. We've used it actually based on Ricardo, what Ricardo suggested. It's very much, we've got inspired by you guys a lot, and adapted it a little bit. And what we're doing is we check this once a month on at least on the annual company OKR level. And when we construct these OKRs, we kind of make sure that all of them, or most of them, are measurable between 0 and 100%, and not just 0 and 1, so that these are not binary. And we also try to be very explicit and describe in that document how we measure it, what the scale is. Because, I mean, you measure something, but then do you really start with 0 at 0? I mean, going backwards, basically being worse than you are right now, or do you set 0 at a level that is for you the minimum that you need to achieve? And all these questions are coming up while you're doing this. I didn't think of this before, but this is kind of the learning of these many iterations. So then you have these different variations of the scale, and what we also did is add data sources, because you're making, this is kind of like a dream session. Oh, it would be so nice if we had all the transactions and this and that and the transactions per blah, blah, blah. Okay, cool, sounds right, is probably right. Can we measure it? Where can we dig that data out? Oh, fuck, we need to basically add a KR for the data team to provide that data, and then you don't need to do it because it's not practical. So by adding a data source column, we've kind of caught that problem as well, because then it makes us think about, is that data available right in the moment when we're dreaming up these KRs. So yeah, so that's the sheet. I'm happy to share it and show it. So yeah, next steps for us. I think we should improve or put more emphasis on educating people about OKRs inside of the company. So we've dropped it in, and we expect the newcomers, for example, to understand it after one introduction session. I don't think that works right now. We have to work on this, I think. And what we are not really good at is at celebrating the achievements. So we are tracking and checking, and dare you, if you add a Jira card that doesn't have an assigned OKR to it, or if you're presenting something in our weekly all hands meeting and it's not referencing to the OKR, or if it's saying, hey, this is not OKR relevant, but if it does and it's successful, well, we clap for everything basically, but there's no there is no special event for actually achieving some of these KRs, and I think that's an important factor that is missing as well, because these goals are ambitious, and as you see, as you've seen for 2017 or 2018, we've been at like 40-45% achievement, and if you rock one of these things to 70% or 100, I think that deserves a very strong clap and a very strong celebration. And prioritization and focus, because you can say you just achieve everything 70%, but I mean, just by reducing the amount of things in the KRs can also kind of give you, first of all, more clarity, what you should focus on, what you should optimize. Because the more things you have, the more things you're doing and juggling at the same time. The different teams are doing these things all at once. But if you cut down the number of OKRs, you create more clarity, more focus. It puts more pressure on actually achieving more on these things. But I think that's a good trade-off to make. So I would we're currently trying to reduce the amount of KRs that we have and be realistic. So next steps for us in this room, coming back to this, I'm probably going later, join me, and maybe you can find a nice ice cream, probably not as good as this one, but yeah, thank you.